Welcome everybody to the MedLifers podcast. Yes, I'm still alive, and yes, the podcast is still alive. I haven't posted in the past month just because I was a little bit busy with work-related stuff, so I had to prioritize. But yeah, we're back at it. So today I would like to talk with you about things I've encountered in the past month, or things I've watched on TV, things like that, or some of the stuff that were happening, kind of sports events and such things. Um, so the first thing I would like to talk about today is this new series, this new TV show on HBO. It's called The Last of Us. And this show is based on a video game called The Last of Us. Apparently, it's a very popular video game. I haven't really played it myself, but um, yeah, as I said, apparently it's a very popular one. But yeah, again, the show is based on that game 100%, and it's getting tons of people watching it right now. Even the people that are even those people like me that are not familiar with the game. So I already watched the 3 episodes of that show that have been out, and honestly, I can't wait for the fourth episode. It's just one of those zombie shows that there has been a lot of zombie related shows, whether films or series, but I think the plot of this one is a little bit more compelling in terms of the reasoning, you know. Um, I think, I mean, I started watching it, I watched somebody reviewing the show, and I was just curious. So I started watching it, and usually when you start watching something like a new show or something like that, um, usually it takes you maybe 2, 3, 4 episodes to really get hooked and continue watching. But for this one, I was hooked from the first scene. Um, like I remember for Game of Thrones, for example, which is one of the greatest shows of all time, just by the numbers. It's not me giving statistics. It's just facts. I didn't really like the first season. Like not a single episode. Probably apart from the last episode of the first season, which where what was his name? Ned Stark. I mean, got decapitated or something like that. But for this show, The Last of Us, I really got hooked from the first scene, because in the first scene, I think it was kind of the setup was like a TV show, like a late night show or something in 60s, 1960s, and you have two scientists with a TV presenter, and they're smoking cigarettes in the studio. Back in the days, that was okay to smoke indoors. Um, and they were talking about science and pandemics and what would be of maybe like challenges or something like that that would face us as a humankind in the future, and things like that. So I would like to actually probably quote the some of those sentences from the first scene, because it's really really it's really 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 cool. Right. So let me get it here. Maybe try to find it specifically. Right. So it says here in TV shows opening scene set in 1968. Epidemiologist Dr. Newman, played by blah blah blah, speaks on an interview show about the prospect of a viral pandemic, surprising the show's host, and the name of that host. So that scientist said that the threat doesn't keep him up at night. The threat of a viral pandemic. He said no. Mankind has been at war with the virus from the start. Sometimes millions of people die as in an actual war, but in the end, we always win. But instead, this scientist pushes fungi as a bigger global threat than bacteria and viruses. And he said, fungi or fungi, however way you say it, so fungi seem harmless enough. Many species know otherwise, because there are some fungi who seek not to kill but to control. And then he offered examples about what he meant by these fungi seeking controlling over killing. He said, viruses can make us ill, but fungi can alter our very minds. Okay, let me look for the next one. Yeah, so there was that other scientist in that setup, in the setup of that scene. There was that other scientist with him that was kind of skeptical of the statements of Professor Newman. And he kind of explains that fungal infections of this kind, they are real, but they are not present in humans. Why? Because in this moment, yeah, anyways, I think they keep then talking about like that, because fungi cannot really survive in the human body because of the body temperature. So they work optimally at 34 degrees, and our body temperatures are 37 degrees. That's why, and that's his reasoning. And the other guy said, well, true, fungi cannot survive if its host internal temperature is over 34 degrees. Currently, there are no reasons for fungi to evolve to withstand higher temperature. But what if that were to change? What if, for instance, the world were to get slightly warmer? Now there is a reason to evolve. One gene mutates, and any one of them could become capable of burrowing into our brains and taking control, not of millions of us, but billions of us. Billions of puppets with poisoned minds permanently fixed on one unifying goal: to spread the infection to every last human life by any means necessary. So what he means here is that, yes, he agrees with the statement that fungi cannot survive in human bodies because of the temperature change, right? We're slightly warmer for them to be able to infect us. But okay, what let's say what's happening with us right now with global warming and the rising of temperatures and stuff like that? What if these fungi, these type of species, can evolve to the point that they can withstand those warmer temperatures, and then they would actually be able to infect us, and when they infect us, then they would be able to control us. And that was the first scene of that show, and I don't know, I got really hyped, and it was I have to say it's a fantastic show. so far. So there are 3 episodes out, and I highly recommend it. Right. Well, on to the next point. Yeah, so one interesting thing as well, I watched in a couple of weeks ago was a Deutsche Welle, or a DW documentary on YouTube. So this Deutsche Welle is kind of it's like a website, a German website, but they have like a channel. It's a broadcasting. It's a channel basically that makes documentaries in English, which is really cool. But they make really, really good documentaries, and they had one last 2 weeks ago or something like that. It's called "The Rich and Poor" in Germany. And in this documentary, they tried to they tried to get kind of a representative sample of people living in Germany, and with varied backgrounds and obviously economic status. So they had the billionaire who inherited the money from his family, and they had the self-made millionaire, and they had uh, the single mom, a 50 plus year old single mom who's unemployed and living off of the government, and they had also someone from like a migration background, like a refugee background, as well. And it's a really an eye-opening documentary. Obviously, I will put a link of that documentary in. It's highly recommended as well. It's really nice. I will post the link in the description for this podcast, and I think also you gotta, like, for the two people who are watching this podcast, if you're not living in Germany, you have to think that, like, you cannot convert how much a person earns in euros here, for example, into your local currencies, because that doesn't make any sense, because everything is relative, even though um, it might seem to you that that person that's incapable of living off of, let's say, 1,500 euros or something like that, and that seems to you really, really much. um, it's not that much in here, because everything is relative, obviously. So you get that, but living expenses are also much higher than what you think. Yeah, they also had a group of, which is like the kind of the middle class family that is like a husband and wife, and they have 2 kids, and they are describing as well what's happening in this type of inflation that's going on, and how everyone's life is kind of affected by that, and such things. Um, it was I really liked the documentary. I think the I was really empathetic with the that 50 plus year old single mom who barely get enough money from the government to support her child. And yeah, it was really sad. Also, the guy, or that family with a Syrian background, with a guy that had to give up his education, and his mom faced some kind of discrimination uh, because of the headscarf and such things. Yeah, I really, well, if you're into it, into documentaries, um, I highly recommend that. I'll put the link in the description for this. Um, yeah, and one big passion of mine is, as probably some of you, uh, the two of you who are watching, as some of you know, one big passion of mine is tennis. So last month was the Australian Open, Melbourne Open, was being played, um, which is the first Grand Slam of the year. So throughout the year, you have like the four biggest tournaments for men and women. They are called the Grand Slams. One is in Australia in Melbourne, and the next that's like in January, and the next one is in Roland Garros, that is in Paris, France, in May, and in June you have Wimbledon in London, and I think August it is in the U.S. Open in Manhattan, New York. So the first one the first Grand Slam of the year was played last month, and well, you have the Belarus tennis player, female tennis player, Arina Zabalenka. She won the women's title. And one of the funniest thing about that is that there was this post on Instagram by one of those tennis pages, like tennis. Well, I think it's a coach, so tennis coach pages, a page on Instagram, and I think he he posted a photo of Arena Sabalenka before the tournament started, and he said, "Next Australian," like he wrote a question, like, "Next Australian champion?" Question mark. And I commented, "No." And that comment didn't really age well, because yeah, it turned out that she actually went all the way, and she won the tournament. So congratulations to her. But the thing about women's tennis is really, really unpredictable, uh, and it's never like you have you have somebody, a female player, that's dominating everybody else for consecutive tournaments in consecutive years and something like that. That doesn't happen. Sometimes it happens in consecutive tournaments, but it's never the case that somebody keeps on dominating everyone for a consecutive amount of years. You had in the past somebody like Serena Williams, for example, a few years ago. She used to be dominant, but she was not playing every tournament on tour. So she was kind of like picking and choosing, which tournaments to play. But in fairness, whenever she played, she was really, really dominant. But that doesn't happen often. Uh, um, on the other hand, on the men's side, you had for 15 to 17 years, or what was that? Yeah, 15 to 17 years now, you had Roger Federer, whom actually retired at the end of last year, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. Those people, those three players, have been dominating the men's tennis for the past 15 to 17 years, I think, or 15 to 20 years. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like if you measure, because you measure the success, let's say the success or the legacy of a tennis player by how many Grand Slams they've won throughout their careers. And you have those players now. Rafael Nadal has 22 Grand Slams, and Novak Djokovic 22, and Roger Federer 20. The highest that or like the highest that somebody has actually won, apart from those people in this era, is three Grand Slams by Andy Murray, three Grand Slams by Stanislas Wawrinka, and a couple of other people that won probably won. So they really were winning everything from left and right. So for men's tennis, so Novak Djokovic, the Serbian world number one now, again, he has won the Australian Open for the 10th time, having now a total of 22 Grand Slams, which is the highest in history, obviously alongside with Rafael Nadal. Each of them has 22 Grand Slams right now. But it was a really, really fun tournament to watch, especially because like you have those next generation players that are 24, 25-year olds now that are competing with the likes of Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal. They are 35 and 36 now. So they are like 10, 11 years older than that generation. And, this younger generation is not winning anything really because the older ones are still dominating the scene. It's crazy. If you look back a few years ago when Nadal was 24 or Novak was 24, you'd find probably that each of them had already 10 to 12 Grand Slams or 8 to 12 Grand Slams or something like that. Whereas the other people that are really, really good players, they have either zero or maybe one or two of them has won just one Grand Slam. So yeah, that explains kind of the difference between men's and women's tennis in terms of having somebody that dominates the sport for a really, really long time. But yeah, it's my passion. I don't expect any of you, the two of you who are watching, I don't expect you to be really interested in that. But yeah, all in all, I just wanted to post this. This is the first time I film this podcast, so yeah, there should be more of this coming up, and yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll have people as well to have kind of a dialogue with. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Yeah, if you like the content, please like the video, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel, and whatever they say on YouTube. Yeah, until next time. See ya.